Christine Brown just told her critics exactly where they can shove their opinions, and honestly, it is about damn time. After years of watching this woman smile through pain, swallow her feelings, and perform the role of happy plural wife for the cameras, she finally snapped back at the people who think they get to control her choices even after she escaped a marriage that nearly broke her. The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering, folks. These are the same fans who cheered when Christine packed her bags and left Kody. They celebrated her courage. They called her a hero. They shared her "I'm done" moment like it was the Super Bowl. But the second she decides to get a tattoo to mark her own body in a way that feels meaningful to her, suddenly she has gone too far. Suddenly she has lost herself. Suddenly she needs to be saved from her own decisions. Let us be brutally honest here. What we are witnessing is not just a celebrity clapping back at internet trolls. This is the complete and total unraveling of a carefully constructed facade that the Brown family has maintained for over a decade. Christine spent years being the bubbly, agreeable wife who kept the peace at any cost. She smiled when she was dying inside. She laughed at Kody's jokes when she wanted to scream. She pretended everything was fine when her marriage was crumbling around her. That woman is gone. The Christine standing before us now, with fresh ink on her skin and fire in her words, is someone who has finally stopped asking for permission to exist. Sources close to Christine say her transformation has been building for years, long before the cameras caught her breaking point. One insider put it bluntly, saying that the tattoo is the least of it because Christine has been shedding that submissive plural wife skin piece by piece, and this is just the part everyone can see. Another person familiar with her journey described it as watching someone finally wake up after being asleep for 2 decades, and they are absolutely right. Every choice Christine makes now, from marrying David Woolley to defending herself publicly, represents another layer of that old identity being stripped away. The timing of this controversy is particularly revealing. Christine did not just get ink randomly. She did not stumble into a tattoo parlor on a whim. This was a deliberate act of self-expression from a woman who was told for years what she could wear, how she should behave, and what kind of wife she needed to be. For those who followed Sister Wives from the beginning, you know that fundamentalist Mormon culture has very specific rules about body modification. Getting a tattoo is not just a personal choice in that world. It is a statement. It is rebellion. It is Christine loudly declaring that the old rules no longer apply to her. But this tattoo controversy is just the surface crack in something much deeper, and what it reveals about the entire Brown family's manufactured image is even more devastating. The tattoo that sent critics into a tailspin is more than just a piece of art on Christine's body. It represents everything she was denied during her decades as a plural wife. Reports indicate the design holds personal significance, though Christine has been selective about sharing its exact meaning with the public. What she has been very clear about, however, is that she does not owe anyone an explanation. And that sentiment alone has people losing their minds. The backlash came swiftly and brutally, with commenters accusing Christine of abandoning her faith, betraying her values, and becoming unrecognizable from the woman they first met on television. The transformation from modest fundamentalist Mormon to confident woman with ink did not happen overnight. Christine spent over 25 years in a religion and marriage that dictated almost every aspect of her appearance. There were rules about hemlines, necklines, and how much skin was acceptable to show. Hair was kept long and natural, makeup was minimal. The goal was modesty, submission, and blending into the background while the patriarch took center stage. For Christine to now walk around with a visible tattoo is not just a personal choice. It is a direct rejection of everything she was taught to believe about her own body and its purpose. One longtime viewer put it perfectly, saying that people got comfortable with Christine being sweet and agreeable, so when she shows any edge or defiance, they act like she has been possessed by demons. Another commenter noted the irony that fans celebrated Christine as a feminist icon for leaving Kody but cannot handle her making choices about her own skin. Allow me to translate what is really happening here. People do not actually want Christine to be free. They want her to be their version of free. They want liberation that looks polite and familiar and does not challenge their own assumptions about who she should be. The contrast between Christine's silence during her marriage and her current willingness to publicly fire back at critics could not be more stark. For years, this woman absorbed criticism, swallowed her responses, and kept the peace to maintain the family image. When fans questioned her parenting, she stayed quiet. When Kody dismissed her needs on national television, she smiled through it. When Robin seemed to take priority in every single family decision, Christine found ways to justify it publicly even as she was drowning privately. That woman no longer exists. The Christine we see now has absolutely zero patience for people who think their opinions about her body matter more than her own. But the critics attacking Christine were not just random internet trolls with too much time on their hands. Some of them were actively defending Kody's Kody's side of things, and that pattern reveals something deeply troubling about how this family's narrative continues to be fought over in public. The criticism Christine faced went far beyond simple disapproval of tattoos. Some of the most vicious attacks accused her of abandoning everything she claimed to believe in, suggesting her faith was just a performance all along. Others questioned whether David Woolley was manipulating her, reshaping her into someone her family and longtime fans no longer recognize. The implication was clear. Christine cannot possibly be making these choices freely. Someone must be controlling her. Let that sink in for a moment. A woman escapes a marriage where her choices were constantly questioned and overruled, and the response from some fans is to immediately question whether her new husband is now making her choices instead. The David Woolley accusations are particularly insulting when you consider what Christine actually experienced with Kody. Sources who knew the family dynamics well have described how the wives were constantly navigating Kody's preferences, often changing their appearance or behavior to stay in his good graces. One insider revealed that there were unspoken rules about everything, from what the wives wore to family events to how they styled their hair. Nothing was ever explicitly mandated, but the pressure was always there. Kody had opinions about everything, and disagreeing with those opinions had consequences. For fans to now suggest David is doing the same thing to Christine shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what she escaped and what she has built since. People close to the couple say Christine's confidence has grown exponentially since her divorce, and David actively encourages her to express herself however she wants. One source described their dynamic as the polar opposite of what Christine experienced before, noting that David seems genuinely delighted when Christine does something unexpected or unconventional. The idea that he is somehow puppeteering her into getting tattoos against her will is quite frankly absurd. Christine's response to the criticism essentially boiled down to a pointed message. You do not get to celebrate my freedom, and then police how I use it. She did not mince words. She did not issue a carefully crafted statement through a publicist. She addressed the hypocrisy directly and unapologetically. This approach is so far removed from the Christine we watched for years that it almost feels like witnessing a different person. But that is exactly the point. She is a different person now. The woman who would have cried privately and said nothing publicly has been replaced by someone who will tell you exactly what she thinks of your unsolicited opinions. And this was not even Christine's first time firing back at critics recently. A clear pattern is emerging, and it suggests the woman we thought we knew is never coming back. For over a decade, Sister Wives sold America on a beautiful lie. The show presented the Brown family as proof that plural marriage could work, that jealousy could be overcome, that multiple wives could genuinely love each other and function as one harmonious unit. Christine was central to that fantasy. She was cast as the fun one, the playful wife who brought lightness to family gatherings. She cracked jokes on camera, smiled constantly, and presented herself as fully invested in the lifestyle. Viewers ate it up. They wanted to believe that this unconventional family had figured something out that the rest of us had missed. The reality, as we now know, was brutally different. Christine has been increasingly candid about how miserable she was during those early seasons, smiling for cameras while dying inside. One source described the cognitive dissonance required to film those happy family scenes while privately feeling invisible and unloved. They said Christine would sometimes cry between takes, compose herself, and then deliver another line about how blessed she felt to be part of this family. The performance was so convincing that even close friends believed she was genuinely content. Let us be honest about what this means. We watched a woman slowly break apart in real time, and the production convinced us it was a love story. The tell-all specials have gradually peeled back these layers of manufactured happiness, revealing the rot beneath the pretty surface. Christine has used these opportunities to finally speak truths she suppressed for years. She has talked about feeling like a basement wife, about being told she was not attractive, about watching Kody's affection flow exclusively to Robin while she starved for attention. These revelations have shocked fans who genuinely believed the early seasons represented reality, but insiders say this is still just the tip of the iceberg. One person close to production noted that Christine has only shared maybe 30% of what really happened, and the rest is apparently too painful or too complicated to discuss publicly. The shift in Christine when cameras are not officially rolling has been noted by multiple observers. During breaks in filming, sources say she drops the performative cheerfulness entirely. Her face changes, her posture shifts, the bubbly energy she maintained for audiences disappears, replaced by something more grounded and real. One insider described it as watching someone take off a costume they have worn for so long it became a second skin. The Christine underneath is quieter, more thoughtful, and significantly angrier than the character she played for TLC. But Christine is far from the only Brown whose carefully crafted image is falling apart. In fact, the person whose facade has deteriorated most dramatically might be the patriarch himself. Kody Brown built his entire identity around being a successful plural husband. He was the man who could love multiple women equally. He was the spiritual leader guiding his massive family toward eternal salvation. He was the charismatic patriarch whose wives adored him and whose children respected him. That image has been systematically demolished over recent seasons, and the man we see now barely resembles the confident leader from early Sister Wives episodes. The contrast is genuinely shocking for anyone who binges the series from the beginning. His contradictions have become impossible to ignore, even for his most dedicated defenders. Kody claims he wanted family unity while actively pushing wives away. He insists he tried to maintain connections with his children while admitting he does not speak to many of them for months at a time. He blames Christine, Janelle, and Mary for the family collapse while refusing to acknowledge any role his own behavior played. One viewer summarized it perfectly, saying that watching Kody now is like watching someone lie to themselves in real time, completely unable to see the gap between what they say and what they do. The tell-all specials have been particularly revealing. Host Sukanya has navigated Kody's defensive responses with skill, pressing him on inconsistencies while he visibly struggles to maintain composure. Sources say the production team specifically designs questions to expose these contradictions, knowing they make for compelling television. Kody often responds with deflection, blame shifting, or outright denial. One insider noted that he genuinely seems to believe his version of events, even when confronted with footage proving otherwise. Whether this represents delusion or desperation is a question viewers continue to debate. The disconnect between Kody's self-perception and reality has become a recurring theme. He describes himself as a loving father while his adult children publicly describe feeling abandoned. He talks about fighting for his marriages while his ex-wives detail years of emotional neglect. He presents himself as a victim of circumstances while consistently making choices that drove everyone away. Allow me to translate what we are actually watching. This is a man whose entire identity was built on a foundation that no longer exists, and he cannot figure out who he is supposed to be now that the facade has crumbled. Speculation about Kody's mental state has increased among viewers and commentators alike. Some wonder if he genuinely cannot recognize the disconnect between his words and actions. Others suggest his defensiveness masks deep shame about how thoroughly he failed as a husband and father. Whatever the psychological reality, the public image of Kody as a competent patriarch is gone forever, and there is one person whose facade might be even more fragile than his. Robyn Brown has maintained a specific narrative throughout the Sister Wives saga. She was the innocent fourth wife who just wanted everyone to get along. She tried her best to blend into an established family. She never wanted to be the favorite or the source of division. This portrayal has been increasingly challenged by fans and, more significantly, by the other wives themselves. The cracks in Robyn's carefully constructed image are widening with every new revelation, and what is emerging beneath does not match the story she has been telling. The innocent victim narrative simply does not hold up under scrutiny anymore. Viewers have compiled years of footage showing Robyn receiving preferential treatment, from Kody's time allocation to financial decisions to housing choices. Her tears and protestations of helplessness have started looking less like genuine distress and more like strategic performance. One fan theory that has gained significant traction suggests Robyn has been playing a much more active role in the family dynamics than she lets on, quietly consolidating her position while publicly claiming she wanted equality for all the wives. Sources familiar with the family tensions say Robyn handles criticism very differently than Christine does. While Christine now confronts detractors directly, Robyn tends to retreat into victimhood, emphasizing how hurt she is by the accusations. One insider described the contrast as revealing, noting that Christine has stopped caring what people think while Robyn remains obsessed with being liked. This difference in approach has created an interesting dynamic among viewers, who increasingly view Christine's directness as authentic and Robyn's defensiveness as suspicious. The relationship between Robyn and Kody has also faced speculation as the show's popularity increasingly hinges on his ex-wives rather than his current marriage. There is a delicious irony here that deserves acknowledgement. The woman who allegedly wanted the family to stay together is now stuck in a marriage to a man whose relevance depends entirely on the women who left him. Sources suggest there is genuine tension about this dynamic. One person close to production noted that Robyn seems uncomfortable with how much airtime the ex-wives receive, but there is nothing she can do about it because they are what audiences want to see. Robyn's position grows more precarious as each former sister wife finds their voice and their happiness. Christine is thriving with David. Janelle has built an independent life she seems genuinely satisfied with. Even Mary has moved on. Meanwhile, Robin is left defending a marriage and a family structure that exists more in Kody's imagination than in reality. And speaking of former wives finding new paths, there is one transformation that has been unfolding quietly but powerfully. Mary Brown spent years being the punching bag of sister wives commentary. She was blamed for the catfishing scandal. She was criticized for staying with Kody long after the relationship was clearly dead. She was mocked for her emotional scenes and her apparent inability to let go. But the Mary emerging now is almost unrecognizable from that struggling woman, and her transformation offers a fascinating parallel to Christine's more dramatic reinvention. Both women are reclaiming identities that plural marriage suppressed for decades, just in very different ways. Her relationship with Jen has been a particularly visible marker of change. After years of clinging to a marriage that offered nothing but rejection, Mary has finally allowed herself to pursue genuine connection and happiness. Sources close to her say the difference in her demeanor is remarkable. One person who has known Mary for years described it as watching color return to someone who had been gray for so long you forgot what they used to look like. The woman who used to cry on camera about her loveless marriage is now posting content about her new life with an energy that feels authentic and hopeful. Murray's reactions during tell-all filming have shown a woman finally willing to speak her truth without apologizing for it. She has pushed back on Kody's revisionist history. She has validated Christine and Janelle's experiences. She has refused to take sole blame for the family breakdown, as she was often expected to do in earlier seasons. One insider noted that Mary's transformation has been slower and quieter than Christine's bold public statements, but it is no less significant. She is learning how to exist without seeking Kody's approval, and that process takes time after spending your entire adult life oriented around one man. The parallels between Mary and Christine's journeys are striking when you examine them closely. Both women spent years performing contentment they did not feel. Both absorbed criticism and blame that should have been directed at Kody. Both tried everything they could think of to save their marriages before finally accepting the truth. The difference is largely one of style. Christine tends toward the dramatic gesture, the public statement, the clear line in the sand. Mary moves more cautiously, processing privately before revealing anything to the world. But both roads are leading to the same destination: freedom. For longtime viewers, watching these women rediscover themselves after decades of suppression is both heartbreaking and inspiring. Heartbreaking because we now understand how much they lost. Inspiring because it proves that reinvention is possible at any age, no matter how thoroughly life has tried to crush you. But there is one more ex-wife whose evolution demands attention, and she has been the most unfiltered of them all. Janelle Brown has never been one for excessive drama or emotional displays. She has always presented herself as the practical wife, the level-headed one who approached plural marriage more like a business arrangement than a romance. But the Janelle we are seeing now has abandoned any remaining pretense of neutrality. Her comments about Kody and the failed family structure have become increasingly direct, and she seems to have absolutely zero interest in protecting his feelings anymore. Recent tell-all appearances have showcased Janelle at her most honest. She has flatly contradicted Kody's version of events. She has refused to play the diplomatic middle ground she occupied for years. She has validated Christine's experiences in ways that must infuriate the remaining Browns. One particularly memorable moment had Janelle essentially confirming what viewers had suspected for years, that Kody's treatment of Christine was worse than what made it to screen. Sources say production was thrilled with Janelle's willingness to speak plainly, as it provides the kind of authentic content audiences crave. The friendship between Janelle and Christine has only strengthened since they both left Kody. They vacation together, they support each other publicly, they present a united front against anyone trying to rewrite the history of what happened in that family. This solidarity is particularly notable, given that plural marriage often creates competition between wives. One insider observed that Christine and Janelle are proof that the sister-wife bond can survive the death of the marriage if the women choose each other over the man who was supposed to connect them. Janelle's support of Christine's choices, including the controversial tattoo, has been consistent and public. She has liked posts. She has made comments defending her sister wife. She has refused to participate in any criticism despite pressure from certain corners of the fan base. This loyalty speaks volumes about where Janelle's priorities lie now. She is done protecting Kody's ego. She is done maintaining appearances for the cameras. She is done being the reasonable one who absorbs conflict so others do not have to. The ex-wives' collective decision to stop performing has fundamentally changed what Sister Wives is as a show. What started as a documentary about unconventional family life has become something closer to a group therapy session, with 3 women processing decades of dysfunction in real time. The question now becomes whether the show can survive this transformation, and whether anyone involved even wants it to. Season 20 has brought revelations suggesting the show may be approaching its final chapter. The tell-all format that has dominated recent content indicates production recognizes recognizes that manufactured storylines cannot compete with authentic drama. Viewers want the real conversations, the genuine emotions, the unfiltered truth about what happened to this family. And ironically, the show has never been more compelling than it is now, when the family has essentially dissolved entirely. There is a delicious paradox at the heart of Sister Wives' current situation. TLC sold audiences on a functioning plural family for over a decade. The premise required the Browns to at least appear unified, even when tensions simmered beneath the surface. Now that the facade has completely collapsed, now that there is no plural family left to document, the ratings are stronger than ever. People are tuning in specifically to watch the aftermath of failure. They want to see Kody confronted with his choices. They want to hear the wives finally speak freely. They want the dysfunction they always suspected was there. Network decisions about the show's future remain subject to intense speculation. Some industry observers believe TLC will milk the current drama until audiences lose interest, then finally end the series. Others suggest spin-off opportunities focusing on the thriving ex-wives rather than the struggling patriarch. One source close to production floated the idea of a Christine and David-focused series, noting that their obvious happiness provides a stark contrast to the misery that defined Christine's previous marriage. Whether any of these possibilities materialize remains to be seen. The question of what sells better, authentic drama or manufactured reconciliation, seems to have been definitively answered by recent viewership numbers. Audiences respond to truth, even when that truth is messy and uncomfortable. The early seasons of Sister Wives offered a sanitized version of plural life that viewers found fascinating but ultimately hollow. The current era offers something raw and more real. 3 women rebuilding their lives after escaping a dysfunctional marriage. 1 man confronting the consequences of his choices. 1 wife defending a position that grows less defensible by the day. All of these transformations are happening against the backdrop of uncertainty about what comes next. But there is one question the tattoo controversy raised that cuts deeper than any discussion of network renewals or spin-off potential. Christine's decision to fire back at critics was about more than a tattoo. It was about establishing who gets to define her story going forward. For 25 years, other people controlled that narrative. Kody determined what kind of wife she should be. The church dictated what kind of woman she could become. TLC shaped how audiences perceived her. Critics and fans projected their expectations onto her constantly. The tattoo and the clapback represent Christine declaring that era finished. She is the author of her own story now, and anyone who does not like the direction she is taking can find someone else to follow. The Sister Wives facade did not just crack, it shattered into a million pieces that can never be reassembled. And here is the thing nobody expected. That shattering might be the best outcome for everyone involved. Christine is happier than she has ever been. Janelle has found peace and independence. Mary is exploring what genuine romantic partnership feels like. Even Kody, despite his obvious struggles, is being forced to confront realities he avoided for decades. The pretty lie everyone worked so hard to maintain was hurting all of them. Its destruction, while painful, has created space for something more honest to grow. The women who spent years performing contentment are finally discovering what actual contentment feels like. They are making choices based on their own desires rather than someone else's expectations. They are speaking truths they were forced to swallow. They are building lives that reflect who they actually are rather than who they were told to be. Whether that involves getting tattoos, finding new love, or simply saying what they think without apologizing, the transformation is remarkable to witness. For viewers who have followed this family from the beginning, Christine's evolution represents everything the show was never supposed to become. She was cast as the supportive plural wife who believed in the lifestyle. She was supposed to validate the choices that brought her into this unusual arrangement. Instead, she has become the loudest voice declaring that plural marriage failed her, that Kody failed her, that the entire system was built on foundations that could not hold. Her willingness to say these things publicly, to clap back at critics who preferred the old Christine, represents a courage that took decades to develop. Do you think Christine should keep firing back at critics, or is engaging with them giving them too much power? And which wife's transformation has surprised you the most? Was it Christine's bold public reinvention, Janelle's quiet but fierce independence, or Mary's unexpected journey to new love? Drop your thoughts below because this conversation is far from over and the Brown family saga continues to deliver surprises none of us saw coming.